Hi, I'm Barry Farber, and this is Pain for Gain. What is pain for gain? What does that mean? Well, the focus is on short-term pain today for long-term success in health and wellness. And we're going to take a look at what that means with our joint health, with our gut health, with better sleep, better everything practically when it comes to health and wellness. And we're going to have somebody special come on, but I want to share something with you. You know, there's a saying, when you hit yourself in martial arts, there's a whole method where I usually just hit my body all over in different places, right? Every night before I go to sleep. And what does it do? There's small tears in your muscle fibers that actually become more resilient later on. Over and over again, they become so resilient that what I do by hitting you don't feel anything anymore. It builds it up. It's almost like Wolff's Law with your bone. And when you increase weights when you're working out, you increase the strength of your bone density. So many different things about pain for gain that we're going to talk about. But I have an exciting guest, and I have a gut feeling she's going to be amazing. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Today's guest has helped millions of people rethink their relationship with food, health, and longevity. She is a naturopathic doctor, best-selling author, and one of the country's leading voices on natural healing and metabolic wellness. Through her groundbreaking work on bone broth, intermittent fasting, and cellular health, she has shown that true wellness often requires discipline, commitment, and sometimes sacrifice. Letting go of short-term habits in order to gain long-term vitality. She is a New York Times best-selling author, translated into 11 countries, and had 4 highly successful PBS specials. You might have seen her on all the major media, including CBS, ABC, NBC, and Fox. Her programs have transformed lives, helping people lose weight, reduce inflammation, and reclaim their energy naturally. And I might mention she has 2 million satisfied customers. Please welcome internationally recognized health expert and best-selling author, Dr. Kellyann Petrucci. Thanks for coming on the show.
Barry, I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. Finally, we're having this great conversation.
I've been looking forward to this. And after reading your books, and especially Bone Broth Breakthrough, I realize that you have so many things in common with how I look at life when you talk about how you eat, how you move, how you think. And before we get into all that, which I think the viewers are going to really get a lot of benefits out, tell me about your background. Because I was fascinated, especially with your parents, your father and the barber shop and the things he taught you and your mom. Can we go into that first?
Yeah, so I'll take you way back first, because you'll have an understanding of why I decided to educate myself the way I did. Because most people that are interested in science, they're interested in medicine, they're going to go a much more medical route than I chose to go. But there's a reason for that. And way back, every month I would have terrible, terrible cramps. I would be hurled over and missing all kind of school. My mom didn't know what to do with me anymore. And basically we went from doctor to doctor, and they all said the same thing. You have to have you're either going to not have children, which is you'll probably never have children.
Really?
And that was across the board. No matter who we saw, they said you probably can't have children because you've got this condition called endometriosis. Heard that time and time again. And imagine hearing that at like 15, 16 years old. You're coming from an Italian family where all they talk about is family, children, tradition, and that was very important to you since you were born. And then all of a sudden you hear you probably can't have children because of this condition. So we finally went to a doctor, and they said, look, the only way that you're ever going to be better is if you have a partial hysterectomy. So that means taking parts of your body out that will make it so you've already decided you can't have children. And so there was a voice that came inside of me that was so strong, I call it now the tiger voice. The tiger came out and it said, no, you have to figure this out. Somehow you have to figure this out. That's where that piece of me was born in that moment. And that piece of me is the piece where I was going to be unrelenting about figuring things out. And so my journey, if I fast forward, I started doing things that reduced the inflammation in my body. And as a result of that, in a matter of months, I completely turned this condition around. And I learned so much from that point. When
your body about.
When the tiger was born, I learned a lot about that. And my family was always very supportive of everything I did. I came from a family, there's 4 children in my family, my mom and my dad, raising their children, my father a barber. And I watched my father's journey from the time I was very small. I would sit in his barber shop holding the cigar box,
Right.
because that's how we collected money. And I was responsible for collecting the money, and I was responsible for sweeping the floor. And I was very young when I did this, and I loved it. And I would walk up this hill after school every day, and I would go to his barber shop and get that cigar box. But here's what I watched, and I'll never forget it. It is etched in me like an indelible scar. People would walk in because, life, Barry, can beat you down. And they'd walk in and they'd be slumped over, and I could tell they were either having a bad day or they felt like life wasn't, shooting them a solid, and they would sit in my dad's chair, and by the time they stood up from that chair, I saw them walk different. I saw them talk different.
Right.
I saw their energy was different. And I realized then that you can transform somebody, and it doesn't have to take long, and there are many ways of doing that.
Haircut, listening to them.
Listening to them. And so that was very meaningful to me, and it I think created a fire within me to somehow want to be part of that kind of transformation where I made a difference to people, that I could make them feel better.
Right.
And I also realized, gosh, it didn't even take them long. They didn't sit in that chair for very long, but somehow what they heard, what they saw made a difference, and they stood up brighter and better, and their posture was better, and hey, John, okay, oh, go, the whole thing, and they'd walk out.
That's a great experience. Great.
It was,
Yep.
and so many levels.
Yep.
And so, but I watched my father in his entrepreneurial journey, and there was no choice for me in life. I was going to be an entrepreneur, and I was going to be an entrepreneur that somehow transformed. Those two things were very clear to me from a very young age, and it was not even something that was conscious. It was just something that my body did. It was wired into me. And that really kind of set the stage for watching my father build, no education, being a barber, deciding to go into this entrepreneurial risk-taking path. It was incredible watching him buy this piece of property when everyone told him he was out of his mind to buy it. There was a supermarket that went under next to him, and he decided, I'm going to do whatever I can, and I'm going to buy that supermarket. That's a lot of real estate, a lot of commercial real estate. He was a barber, no other source of income.
Wow.
He ended up buying this little supermarket. Actually, it was rather large. It was called Cane's, and he built a sporting goods store. And I watched him build and build and build and build the sporting goods store. Most of it happened after I was out of the house. I didn't get to enjoy really watching that part of it face to face. I wasn't in the shop every day. But every time we had a break in college, I had to go to the sporting goods store, and I had to wrap those trophies, and I had to work with customers.
Right.
And I'm so glad that I did.
I can't explain how important that is. My daughter came to meetings with me, and the things that happen then that are today come through in some of the work she does is amazing. And I think what you've just learned, and one of the things I really liked is your father talking about, he said something about uncovering opportunities in the relentless pursuit of things. Tell me about that before we go into how you even got into the space of bone broth and health.
I saw in my father, there was this. It's all I can say is if you can just picture somebody who was like this. Relentless pursuit. When you have parents that don't even speak English, okay? You have 9 children in your family. You literally have had no resources your entire life. You've had nothing. They literally had an outhouse. They didn't even have a bathroom in the house. Okay, this is how my father grew up. And to have that internal force and drive and belief in oneself,
Right.
enough to take the risks that he took when it made no sense. So there's so much in play that I believe about life and goodwill and what drives behind you, what's driving you behind you that you're not even aware of. All of these things came into play for him to be able to make the moves on the chessboard that he made while having 4 children, one after the other. And my gosh, when I think about it now and the hardships that it took to get to that and the driving force it took to endure that risk and to continue growing. And he just continued to buy commercial real estate, and he eventually retired quite young because he had commercial real estate.
See, I see that driven attitude in you. That's what he transferred. I see that.
La
and I met you.
tigra, la tigra, they say, the tiger, la tigra.
I love
Yeah.
it. And we just met today. So it's all through reading your books and seeing you on television and doing a little deep download on all your background. And I'd love to hear, so how did you get into the health space and bone broth as the authority on bone broth, as something that is not a one-hit wonder, it's been around for centuries? Take me through that.
When I mean, it was really an incredible story, actually, because I had this great opportunity to study biological medicine. It was through the Paracelsus Clinic in Switzerland. What happened was there's this unbelievable clinic in Switzerland that heals people at a rate that is just jaw-dropping. It's jarring how many people that they heal, and they heal it all naturally through German medicine, through European biological medicine, natural medicines, understanding the internal milieu, which we'll talk about, which is your body's terrain, understanding all these things, the seasonality of the body, how food works within the body, really doing these things before anyone understood it. A woman had a very sick husband. She sent her husband to this clinic. He became well. She was absolutely stupefied by this. It was profound. She said, I've got to make American doctors. I've got to bring this to America. So she funded this foundation called the Marion Foundation, where she brought Dr. Rao, who headed this clinic. This was unbelievable. Brought Dr. Rao to America and said, we're going to do this course. It's going to be 2 years long, and we're going to teach American doctors this whole biological nutrition, biological medicine. How lucky was I? So I couldn't decide whether to do this or not. I just had a baby. And, you know, I had to practice. I had a lot going on. And
You
I
had
thought,
a baby, congratulations.
Thank you. I had
You
2.
didn't listen to that.
I had 2. I mean, we can fast forward to that. I had 2 healthy babies because I listened. So here I am having this real dilemma. I just had a child. You know, I'm feeling kind of beat down. I haven't restored myself quite yet, but I have this incredible opportunity. Dr. Rao is going to be in America, and how do I not go and learn from this? Otherwise, I'd have to go to Switzerland and learn in Switzerland and be away. And now I really can't afford to be away that much. Now that I have this new child, I'm going to do it. And I did. And it was unbelievable. It separated me from the pack, so to speak. What I learned in this 2 years, and now here's where I got really lucky. Dr. Rao never did that class again in America. He decided it was too long away from his family in Switzerland. So after the end of the 2-year class, instead of continuing on like they had hoped, he said, this has been wonderful, but I'm not going to do this class again. So I am one of the very few doctors who trained in this remarkable paradigm under Dr. Rao and under this biological medicine. So really that shifted my thinking in ways that helped me in the future, because they focused a lot on the biological terrain. What does that mean? That's what we're talking about now. We started talking about, it's called a microbiome. It's called gut health.
Well, we hear about
No one was talking about this in the 90s. You understand? No one was
90s,
talking about, no one knew anything about this. Dr. Rao did. And it was a large focus. So now let's flash back to how this all came back to bone broth.
Now, when you come to, what I want to do is when we come back from a break, I want to go into exactly how this all started with bone broth, because
that's where we are now.
Right, I know.
That's where we are in this story now.
Yes.
Because you had to know that to understand how this
Gotcha.
came into my consciousness.
Right.
So here I am. I come back to the States. I'm practicing this unbelievable stuff. I'm talking about pro-inflammatory versus anti-inflammatory foods. No one talked about that.
In the
I'm
90s.
talking about food that food that heals the gut. I'm talking about, and everyone kept saying, Dr. Kellyann, you got to write a book, you got to write a book, you got to write a book. So I ended up, and this is a story for another day, but I got very lucky, and not only did I get a 1-book deal, I got a 5-book deal with Wiley Publishing.
Great publishing.
All on paleo. The paleo movement and the paleo space. I was one of the first on this whole paleo phenomenon at the time. And as I was studying and researching, I had no ghostwriters, anything like that. It was me, and I was doing all the research. There was no chat GPT. There was really no way to do it, but really roll your sleeves up and dig in. And here's one of the things that I thought and discovered through every single book. They kept talking about, even if I was talking about paleo living, if I was talking about paleo foods, if I was talking about paleo exercise, no matter what, paleo cooking, no matter what I was talking about, they kept mentioning these tribes and these bands that use this broth. Now get this is the important sentence, to heal the gut. They talked about Mother Teresa bringing this beautiful broth to hospitals to heal the gut, to open up the gut for healing, Had I not taken all that Swiss medicine, that biological nutrition, I wouldn't have had a clue what that meant. That would have went right over my head.
Then I want to go into in depth when we come back, all about bone broth, about your joints, about better sleep, about better health, about better your hair, everything. I can't believe the amount of benefits there, but I want to understand also the history. So don't go away. We'll be right back with Dr. Kellyann, and we're going to dive into bone broth. Be right back. I'm a very big believer in Dr. Kellyann, and I have a very special offer for all of you watching from Dr. Kellyann to join her 2 million satisfied customers enjoying the amazing health benefits of her bone broth. When you visit drkellyann.com, use the promo code BARRY15, that's Barry15, and get 15% off your entire purchase. Her website features healthy lifestyle blogs, recipes for protein-rich, collagen-packed bone broth meals, and other natural products based on her personal journey and extensive research. Visit drkellyann.com and use promo code BARRY15 for 15% off your entire purchase. Hi, I'm Barry Farber, and I'm excited to bring you The Adventures of Little Billy in Search of the Magic Tree. In a moment, you're going to see an animated series that was created from interviews with thousands of high achievers in sports, science, business, finance, inventing, brain surgeons to billionaires, sports legends to entertainers, talking about what are the 5 elements that are condensed into having a successful life at an early age. What I wanted for every grandparent and parent to have for their kids is a foundation of those principles put into this animated series you're about to see. And I'm also excited for the special edition hardcover copy of The Adventures of Little Billy in Search of the Magic Tree that just came out. For more information on the adventure, you could scan the code below. How did this animated series start? I was actually carving Lawrence the Owl, one of the characters in the story, in my front yard. And as I'm carving, something popped in my mind. It said, you got to come up with an animated series so kids can get closer to the animals and understand the elements and principles of what the keys to success are. Scan the code below and learn more about that adventure. Welcome back. I'm Barry Farber, and this is Pain for Gain, and I'm so excited to have Dr. Kellyann with us because we're going to go into bone broth. And guess what? We have a little sample here, but before we go into actually how easy it is to make and how you say it tastes great, I haven't had it yet.
Yes.
I was waiting for this moment. Tell us about it. Give the background on it, the history
Sure.
to the elements that are so many different benefits.
When I first learned about the concept of bone broth, no one was talking about it at all. I had gotten a 5-book deal. Throughout these books, I kept hearing about this amazing broth. I said, okay, this is real history. This is dated back to prehistoric times where they actually used to dig holes in the ground and make soup literally in the ground. They would dig out stomach intestines, and they would actually make soup in the intestines of stomach. So I am talking about this broth was made before there was a bowl to put it in. That is how far back that this goes. And not only that, but about every culture that we have has their version of bone broth. I was completely stupefied. I thought, my God, there's like Vietnamese pho. Some people think it's pho. It's actually pho. They have Italian broda. They have Jewish soup, penicillin soup. That's actually a form of bone broth.
Right.
And it goes on and on and on. Every culture, every country has their own version. And I said, this is incredible. Why does no one talk about this? So I didn't invent bone broth. All I did was make the awareness pierce the stratosphere.
Well, you did an amazing job, because you're like, when I tell people you're coming on the show, they say, doesn't she do the bone broth? You're well known for that.
Well, here's why I gave up talking about everything else but bone broth for a very long time. The benefits. There are so many benefits in bone broth. I said, if it is the last thing I do, if it is my only mission in life, I'm going to make sure that people understand how this can reboot the body in a way that I've never seen. So I would not give up everything I've learned and talked about if it wasn't that powerful.
Wow. So let's go through each benefit.
Yeah.
And then let's try it. That's what I like to do.
Yeah,
because yes.
So when I first started talking about it, by the way, you could not get it easy like this. And I want everyone to know that as they're listening. I would talk about bone broth. I would talk about the value, the benefits of bone broth. And everyone said, Dr. Kellyann, I love you. I'm so into this, but I ain't doing that. That's why this came to be. So I want you to think about that as we're talking about the benefits, and think about all of these benefits that you can get in this packet. So first of all, we know that gut health is very, very important. And I defy anyone to find something that heals and seals the gut better than the collagen, than the gelatin. Think about it, that's in this packet. So think about it like you got a sunburn. Okay, what is the first thing you reach for when you get a sunburn? You want that aloe vera.
Right.
Why? Because it's going to soothe and it's going to heal at the same time. So think about bone broth going through that long, winding track in your body that we call our digestive system and all the organs therein. Think about it going through there. It's cleansing you so you're not clogged. It's hydrating you. It's providing all of these nutritional elements as it goes through, but more important than anything else, it's healing and sealing. Your gut wall is so very thin that this is where we talk about this concept of leaky gut. It's so easy to happen in modern day living. It's so easy to happen, and you need spackle. And when you give your body this everyday spackle of the gelatin, of the collagen, of the amino acids, all upbuilding, 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 you can't help but to get results. And we're also learning that we were off on our protein goals. All throughout the years and years that we have tried to learn as much as we can about health and healing, we have missed the boat on talking about how much protein our body actually needs for this whole longevity thing that we're talking about. Like the discussion one in longevity, not falling apart, that's what I call longevity, keeping yourself uplifted, is understanding protein and that we need protein. And this has 16 grams of protein in it. So no matter what you do, no matter what, whether it's an add-on to what you're already doing, or whether it's just a form of 16 grams of protein that your body is required to have, it's thirsty for, you cannot go wrong. It's the protein, it's the collagen, it's the gelatin, all going into your body and doing the work to your digestive system, healing and sealing your digestive system. And it is a very, very easy form of protein, collagen, gelatin, all these things that most of the time people have a hard time digesting. What if you can give your body all of these elements and your body still has an easy time digesting it? Because that is what we're dealing with now, that we get clogged and we have all these issues. And this is something that works so beautifully in the body. It's like the secret weapon, because it goes in there so softly and so calmly, but it is a boss when it comes to the affect.
So we're going to make it in a second, but I'm going to just say this. We have 5 minutes, and it goes so fast, especially with a good guest. I want to, so if you, on a cellular level, like the cells in our body, what's happening? Because, so I'm unique. I don't have sugar, I don't have processed foods, I don't have meat, I don't have alcohol, I don't have dairy. I have less and less inflammation than I've ever had in my life. And I was fascinated by this because of the fact that it helps you sleep better, your joints, your hair growth,
joints, tendons, ligaments, the amino acids in there which help calm your body. It's like the biggest oxymoron because the amino acids help you sleep better at night, but because it's restorative, it also gives you energy during the day. Mm-hmm. All of the collagen, gelatin, all these ancestral foods in there, these ancestral elements are so good for your skin. They're good for your joints, tendons, ligaments, all of these things that people come into doctors' offices for. Oh, my joints ache. Well, why don't you give your body something that's made from the same type of tissue that your body understands, recognizes, and go in there and do the work for you and heal? And by the way, your skin, we know that we start depleting and losing collagen very early in life, actually. It's not later in life, it's earlier. We also know from science that if you start ingesting collagen, you can help your supply. You can help rebuild the collagen in your body. And what that means to you and what that looks like to you is more youthful skin. So it means better joints. And all of the benefits of the collagen, gelatin, protein, all the electrolytes, we're talking about electrolytes, and I laugh. I see all these electrolytes come everywhere. Yeah. I'm thinking bone broth, it's got it all. It's got all the hydration, the hyaluronic acid, and the collagen for your skin. It does so many things, Barry. That is why I said, you know what? All these things that I did and I talked about, I'm going to shelf them until I make sure everybody understands the magic behind bone broth. Then I'll continue to talk about things that are relevant in life at that particular time. But I'm not doing anything else.
Well, you did that well. You explained it in your books. You explained it in all your different interviews. And now I'm intrigued because I'm not a big fan of like this one thing we just found out is you don't need anything else in life. But the centuries of how this has been around and benefited
you cannot defy
cultures.
It. Look at Google Analytics when I started talking about bone broth. The CAGR we call it, which is the growth rate of something. It's just not going away, and it hasn't gone away because it's a historical food.
Let's make some. I'm getting thirsty.
So here's the thing. I'm going to make you one. Here's the thing that you have to realize is that when I first started talking about bone broth, not only did my publisher say to me, you can't call it bone broth. No one knows what bone. That sounds disgusting. I had to fight to actually call this bone broth. That's how nuanced, that's how new this was in the marketplace. Right? So
Should I just follow you, pour it in?
Yeah, you can follow me, and I'm making this a little messy. Sorry, guys. So the one problem that I had...
Put the whole thing in?
Yep, put the whole thing in. The one problem that I had is that everyone said, I don't have time to make it. Even if I told them about pressure cookers or slow cookers or anything, they still didn't have the time to make it. So I knew my task. My task, the assignment was, can you make bone broth in a packet or easy? Can you make it easy and still have those nutritional elements in there? And what I know from seeing patients that a lot of people that are making these products don't know, for compliancy, you have got to have it taste good, and the efficacy or how it works, it's got to do what you say it does. And I go on places like QVC and and talk about bone broth. You can't talk about things unless they're actually real on all of these programs and shows. And I can because it is. And you have to just taste it. Let the flavor speak for itself. Here's to you, Barry. How about to you? Well,
oh, that's really good. It's lemony.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
So let me tell you what this product has done for so many people. They asked me, they want an easy way. Okay, people always want an easy way or a doable way. If you fast with bone broth, it is one of the most powerful things that you can do for your body, which is what the bone broth diet was about, a little different than this book, but it talked all about how you can allow your body to rest and regenerate, because that's where new medicine is going. It's so different now. It's gone to understanding the cellular system and your body's willingness and ability to constantly regenerate. Your body really understands that. So if you give it a rest with intermittent fasting, 16-8 is the most popular, so maybe you stop eating at 8 o'clock p.m. and you don't eat again till 12 noon.
You know,
right?
this is just part one, and we're ending in like 15 seconds. This is just part one. We're going to go off on this. By the way, the taste,
Well,
I just want to drink the whole
I
thing.
have to talk about how like this is like
how easy and nutritious
it's so easy. It's just so easy. I see. I'm always dumb. Like, how could you not do this? How could you not do it if you're looking for more protein, collagen, gelatin, electrolytes, hydration? You're looking for better joints, skin. You don't want to wake up bloated. You know, you want to start working towards something that gets you healthier. You want to hit your protein goals. How could you not do this? You want gut health. You want something easy on the digestion. You want something that restores you. You want something that helps you sleep at night. That's why I said, all right, all.
So this is amazing. Tastes great. It's easy to make, and so many benefits. Cheers. Thank you for coming on part one.
My pleasure.
I have so much to talk to you about, Kellyann.
You do. I'm ready to fire back.
So we're going to be back next time. This is Pain for Gain. I'm Barry Farber, and remember this. If you want to make changes in your life, you have to make changes in your life. It's that simple. A little pain for future gain. See you next time.